Thank you for joining us. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. In this webinar, we're going to review some of the basics about FutureFund and show what to do after school starts. During this broadcast, if you have any questions in the live chat in the bar to the right, feel free to enter your question and we'll be sure to answer it as soon as possible. You will need a YouTube account in there, and if you want to get that set up now, now would be a good time. If you have any other questions that are more of a one-on-one nature, feel free to email our support team, which is support@futurefundtech.com. So FutureFund is built around a few major features. One is registration, the online store, the online directory, memberships, and volunteering. In settings, we have a variety of options to help configure your sites for how you want them to work. The one we're going to focus on right now is the user manager. Here, you can provide access to any number of people to either all or a subset of the administration tool in FutureFund. So for example, I have this user here, Elizabeth Miller. If I click edit, I can see which area she has access to, and these areas correspond to what we have here on the left. In addition to the sections, we also have the ability to restrict which fund they have access to. So just backing up a little bit, FutureFund uses a fund to collect money. So many schools will have a PTA fund, perhaps an ASB fund. There may be a foundation fund. Typically, elementary schools will have 2 to 3. High schools can have around 6. And when we collect money, the money is deposited into each fund. So if you had somebody who was only responsible for the PTA, we could disallow access to ASB, and she would only be able to see the PTA reports going forward. If you wanted to invite a user, you would just hit the add user, enter their name, email address, and then assign the permissions that they would have access to, then hit add user. Once this is pressed, that user will receive an email with instructions how to set up their password or log in to the system. If they have trouble accessing or remembering their password, you can hit the reset password button and an email will be sent to that user with instructions how to reset it. So going over to registration, by now you should have quite a few students who have registered, and all these students are registered here. There's a few statuses that I wanted to review. So in filtering the report, you can have any status. In progress, so in progress is when the parent has started registration but not completed. Registered, which is a catch-all for paid and not paid. We have registered paid, so these are parents who paid the initial payment. Most likely they paid by credit card or they already received a check. It does not count for installment plans. And then not paid are parents who need to deliver a check, but again, does not account for installment plans either. In any one of these, you can additionally search by grade or type in the student name, parent email, a variety of information will pull up the child or the student to see. So any one of these, I can dive in and see the student information, see that they registered, when they started the registration, when they completed it. If the student happens to leave and you want to remove them, you hit the unenroll button and it will remove their information. right here. And you can optionally remove parent volunteer positions as well in the system. The order will still remain, and if you needed to offer a refund, you would need to do that separately. Parent information is provided here, and you can update any of this information as needed, as well as you can get a view of their ordering information. Now, if you don't have access to the fund, you wouldn't be able to see this order as it is placed. Now, if you need to jump to the actual order, you can click here, and this will show the order where you can handle other things. We'll get back to that in a little bit. So now we're going to take a look at the volunteers. So hopefully you've been having parents volunteer for a variety of positions. You can go into here and see any of the positions that you have available. And for example, our book club, we have 119. And you can get a complete list here. This list can be exported to a CSV to import into another system. You can manually add or remove volunteers as needed. And we've added a new feature this year where you can actually email the volunteers. So if I go ahead and click email and get started, I can see right here I have 119 recipients. And I can say, welcome. I can type my message here. I'll get a preview of that message. And then I can go ahead and hit send, and they will all receive that email. You can do this with any of the volunteer positions. If you wanted to email more than one volunteer position, you would go to the setup messaging services. And here you can select one, or by holding the shift key, multiple volunteer positions to email. And you can see here, it will total them up. You don't have to worry about a parent being in 2 positions. They will only receive 1 email from the system. The email is available in the volunteer section, as well as the memberships. We can email any type of memberships that we have as well, and it works the same way. Now, during registration, you may notice that a few people may not have completed registration. If you wanted to reach out to them, if you were to click on the number of students in progress, we've extended the email functionality here as well. And this will go ahead and email parents that are on this page. You can see the 4 recipients, and you could give them instructions to either help them through the process or have them come in to contact someone to complete it. So we have a question, and the question is, I'm the treasurer of the PTA, and I'm having to manually enter each student with amounts paid and each bucket they donated into. Do you have a way to report all this into Excel? Yes, we do. That's a good question. Let me go show you how to do that right now. So in the store, so as we said, we have a variety of funds. So funds are managed in setup. And again, you can think of each fund as a link to a separate checking account or bank account. And then we have campaigns, and campaigns are the vehicles of that's how we collect money. So this could be Parents Night Out tickets, a yearbook, PTA dollar day donation, etc. So if we wanted to find out each purchase that was made, we can go ahead and click on view. Now on here, we can see what the parent would see in either the registration or what it would look like in the store. Now you can manage any images that you may have if you need attachments, as well as set some settings, whether the items are tax deductible, fulfillment is needed, if you have inventory constraints, etc. Now getting back to the question, if you wanted to export all of these purchases, we have a link here, which is export purchases, which will provide an Excel sheet that has all the student information, the products, the quantity, prices, everything that you should be able to import into another system if needed. Now, when I click on the orders section, I can see all the available orders that we have here. And I'm actually going to switch over to another school session to show a slightly simpler example. So we're going to focus on this one order right now, and I'm going to take you through a few of some of the workflow. So we can see here we have this order. I was placed today, order 1259. Now this parent bought a membership, made a donation to Dollar Day for $90, bought a yearbook, and some sweatshirts. And we can see here that the transaction is not paid, so she opted to pay by check. So when we receive a check, we'll click on the transaction we want to record it for. You do have the option to pay by credit card. They can provide you a credit card to enter here. You can enter that information and we'll charge a card immediately. You can cancel a payment. If the child decides to leave the school, you may cancel the payment and they won't owe anything. Or you can mark it as paid. When you mark it as paid, we can supply the check number here. And you can see here that in the activity log, we've recorded that I received a check. Check number is 1234. We marked it as paid. All the other information here is updated as well. Now going back to the order, we can see that that has been paid, as well as the transaction is here. Now, memberships, once they are paid, go to a delivered state automatically, but your yearbook, for example, may not be delivered until the end of the year. Well, we do help with fulfillment. So I'm going to hop over to a report first, and then we'll come back to this. So we're going to look at the unit sale report. Now here you can see I purchased a yearbook, quantity 1, we haven't delivered any, and a sweatshirt, size medium, and we haven't delivered any either. Going back to the order, we can say they come in and we're going to deliver that yearbook. Mark it as delivered. I'll refresh this report. And you can see here, the units sold, units delivered, units pending. The same thing we can do for the sweatshirt. But we may have realized, they may have called and said they didn't want to order a medium. They meant to get a large. So we go ahead and update that. Can go back and see that that option is now a large. And now we'll go ahead and deliver that item. And if you made a mistake, you can always come back and return the item as well. But now we can see everything has been delivered. The report accurately reflects units sold, units delivered, units pending. And if we go back to orders, we can see that the entire order is marked as delivered. Only when all items have been delivered do we mark it at the order level as being delivered. We can also see that the gross amount and collected amount now match, and that there's no balance on this order anymore. And you can also see in the activity log that we have, when the items are delivered for the yearbook, as well as the sweatshirts, they are updated as well. Now, from a parent standpoint, the parent has the ability to log in and view their orders and update some information. So here we can see, basically all the links will have the form of your school site, in our case it's Skylark. Then we have futurefundapp.com/profile. And they should have received an email when they set up their account about this site. But once they log in, if they have directory information, they can go ahead and make changes to that here. So I can update my information, as well as change the information settings that I have. And also new for this year, they can update the volunteer information. So during registration, they saw a form similar to this, and they volunteer for a few positions. So you can go ahead and they can make changes here as well. Those changes are updated automatically. And they also have their order history. So I can see here my order 1259, placed on August 17th. Click on view. I can see the items that were here, as well as I can print my receipt, which they have a nice PDF version. This PDF should have been emailed to them as well once their order was placed. Okay, going back to the store. So under reports, we provide a variety of ways to look at the information. We added a new report this year, which is a registration offline payment report. And I might need to update an order first. 1 second, please. Okay. So if you wanted to get a list of everybody who needs to bring in a check, that is a registration offline payment report. You click generate, you can see here the order number, order date, who made the purchase, which fund it went to. So if this person had made a purchase from 2 different funds on one order, there'll be two line entries, one for each fund, even though the order number is the same, and then the amount they need to bring in. You can export this information if you needed to put it into another system for either analysis or for other processing. If you support installment plans, we have the failed installment plan report and the installment plan report that will review all the reports. So let me switch over to another school year and go back to here. So here you can see that there are two orders. There are installment plans. You can see the number of installments, how many have been paid, the gross amount, which is the amount of the initial order, how much did you collect, and then any balance due. The failed installment plan will show any payments that are past due, as well as how long they've been past due. Now, if you happen to see a metric here, and let's say you don't know what the gross amount is, we've recently upgraded our help center. So in here, you can go to store and reports, and this will show all the reports that we have. And we are on the installment plan report. And you can go here and see each column that we have. Let's go to the offline report as well. So order number, order date, purchaser fund amount, etc. So each report should have its own dedicated page to help you with information, as well as talk about what information is exported and what is not. Okay, so let's go back to here. Okay. So other activities are, so once registration is complete, you may not want any additional people registering. So to turn off registration, you go to setup and you can click, uncheck the button and hit update. And at this point, registration is closed. Parents will not be able to register. If they have installments, we'll continue to process those. The profile, the store, the admin, everything else will continue. The only thing that has stopped is registration at this point. If they log in, they'll get a notice saying that registration is closed, and they'll probably be contacting their front office to register their child if they haven't already. Same thing with the store. So what we recommend is that once the registration is complete, that you direct people to the store to make their purchases. And here you can have the option to have the store either on or off. Some people leave the store off during registration and then swap them when registration goes off. The store goes on. In each one, you can configure whether you accept credit cards or cash or check. Usually on the online store, we recommend that credit cards are the only option rather than have people have to bring checks in. So on any one of these, I can go to the store and I can see that my items are available here. On any one of these, I can click in and I can go ahead and make another purchase as necessary as a parent. And then that purchase will show up in all the reporting that we have available to us. Okay, so that takes care of the store. The last thing are memberships. So memberships got a bit of an overhaul from last year. And now we have memberships that are shown by campaign instead of by category. So for every membership I create, so if I go into the store, campaigns, and create a membership, and this might be a staff membership, and we'll do membership. And a staff membership, the best one is the individual membership, where they can just type in their name and we'll give them a discount of $12. Create that campaign. Now here, we're going to want to make it available in the online store. However, we don't want everyone to come in and buy it. We only want people who are staff members to come see it. So let me first, actually, let me swap over to another campaign, another school year, excuse me. Okay. Okay. Go back to our $12. All right. So if I were to sell it in the online store and make it display it in the storefront, which we'll do briefly here, I will see here I have a staff membership. But like I said, we don't want everybody to have it. So what we'll do is we will leave it in the online store, but we will not display it in the storefront. So at this point, it is now hidden. So the natural question is, how do people find it? Well, if you click on View Store Page, if you have the direct link, you'll be able to access the item and make a purchase. So what we recommend is that you take this link and email it or distribute it somehow to the staff at your school to go ahead and make their purchase. And their purchase would go through the normal mechanism. Now, if you have an item that you happen to run out of inventory, so let's go to yearbooks. So at some point, you're going to place your order for yearbooks and not want to take any additional orders. Now, you could remove it from the online store. So let me go to yearbooks. All right, now if I take it out of the store, what's going to happen is if a parent goes to the link, they're going to get this page that has been not found. That's not a good experience. So what we've enabled is we'll put it back in the store. Let's just make sure it's there. There we go. However, we can mark it as being not available for sale. So when this happens, they don't have the option to buy, and you let them know that it's not available for sale. Now, this item is also removed from the storefront here. But if they still click on that link, which is here, they'll still get the items not available for sale. The reason why this is important is a lot of times schools will email out a link or provide a link on another page that links to a product. You always want that product to be available, or else they'll think there's a problem. At this point, they understand that it's not available for sale, and usually you provide some text stating that all orders had to be in by a certain time or date to be eligible. Some other options in the campaigns. So we also have the ability to track inventory. So we can set the available inventory that we have. Maybe we have 30 of these. Actually, probably be more appropriate for spiritware. So if I hit the spiritware and track inventory, maybe we only have 30 of these. So as each order is placed, this inventory will go down until you're at 0. And then we also have product options. So I can say that I have like sizes, and maybe we'll add colors and black. You want to have one option per line. And when I go to my store, I can see my sweatshirt. I now have the size and the color I can pick. I can go ahead and make my purchase, view my cart, and see the item listed right here. And I can go ahead and complete that purchase, and those options would show up as well. So that takes us through the online store. And we've also extended our email capability to people who made purchases. So maybe going back to our yearbook, we have a variety of people who can, we have a variety of people who have made a purchase, and now it's time to let them know that they need to come pick it up. So I can hit email purchasers. It's the same form. I have 4 people who made the purchase, not a whole lot, but your order is ready. I can go ahead and send my email out to everybody to let them know that the yearbooks are ready and to go pick them up. And of course, you'd want to mark the fulfillment as everybody comes in. Okay, so that completes the major sections that we wanted to show for this session. If you have any questions, please post them. Let's see, we have a question on how to add a donation page for that funds that people can donate during the entire year. Okay. So that's a good question. So I will generalize the question a little bit. So if we had a donation, so we have here PTA dollar a day. This is where we want to collect money, either installments or otherwise. On this campaign, first of all, we want to make sure that it's available in our store. So we can click there. And now when a parent visits our store, they will see the dollar a day donation. Click on that, and they can go ahead and make the donation. They can pay in installments if necessary. And I can see right here, I have my installments, how much is payable today, and etc. So this link right here, if you click on it, will get any parents to the storefront. So how does a parent visit a storefront? Very good question. So many times if you have a PTA website, you need to send them a link to it. So a lot of times we recommend having the link on your website as well as in newsletters and other ways that you promote your products, where they can always come here to the store to make a purchase. But it would be up to you to make that link available on other places that the parents would normally go to. So hopefully I answered that question. If there's any other questions, just feel free to, you're welcome. Feel free to type them in. We'll stay on for a few more minutes until the questions kind of dry out. And then if you have any questions after this, please feel free to hit us up for support or in a support email, or visit our support center. We've been making a lot of investments in there to give the information to you where you can look up information as necessary. So, and thank you for joining this evening. So the question coming in on when I pull a report for the PTA, plug in a name and hit search, it'll default back to the EdFund page. That's something we might have to take offline so I can see exactly what is happening. I'm not quite sure from what your which report you're looking at, or the search settings. But if you send an email to the support, we'll be sure to take care of that as soon as possible this evening. Okay, so good question. So if you only have access to a subset of the funds, is there a way you can see what they bought through the school? You can't see everything. We will not. We will, if you're limited by a fund, we will only have. You will only have access to the funds you have permission to. So they would have to explicitly give you permission to those other funds for you to see what was ordered. We don't, as part of the security, we do not allow people to see the order unless they have explicit permission. So if you're missing the fund, you cannot view the PDF because that's a complete thing, and we will filter the settings to only filter the funds to only show what people have made that purchase in. So you wouldn't be able to help them look that up to answer the question. Good question. What is the difference between collected funds and gross funds? So gross funds is the order amount. So it's basically what they intended to pay, whereas collected funds is the amount that the school received. So when we have The gross fund could be $100, and let's say they're on a payment plan of $25 for 4 payments. When they first start, the collected funds may be 0. They pay the first check, it goes to 25, and then I'll keep working their way up to 100. So what should happen is the gross funds should equal the paid funds plus the balance. This video will be available as forever. So you should be able to, even now, I believe, rewind and go back. This link should always be there for you. And then are people whose parents were declined and collected. So if you made a payment, your credit card was declined, your order was not complete at that point, so you wouldn't show up in the orders list. Only after the payment has been made or it's been marked as payment by check would they show up. So they're kind of, so as a order goes through the workflow, it starts off in a cart mode, and then once it's paid, it becomes an actual order, and only orders are shown in the reports. Okay, question. So can we use the same Ed Fund donation campaign that was used at registration, or do we need to close that, create a new one? Okay, great question. Okay, so if you had a donation that was going through the registration, I would strongly recommend you keep that same one in the store. Just make it available in the store. This way, all the reporting and everything will be much simpler. You won't have to add 2 lines together. If it says your Ed Fund means Ed Fund wherever you are. So definitely just make that available in the store to keep collecting money. So how do I pull a report with declined payments so I can ask them to repay? So the declined payments, what you would want to do, there's not a clean way to say showing exactly everybody who had a declined payment, but well, let me see if I can find a more interesting session. Hold on one second. There we go. So people who are on your payment page here will, and these are all fictitious names, by the way, will most likely, well, I'm not, I'm real, but everybody else is, will most likely be, it doesn't necessarily mean they had a declined payment, but it means their payment has not been completed. So these would be people to reach out to and say, ask them to complete registration would probably be the appropriate language to put in. But a lot of people who have it declined, actually, I don't have, this is just a demo account, so I don't have the data, but I will go show you if I go to the payment type report. So we have a few, so this is, when we're talking about a declined credit card, we have it right here. So we keep track of them all. And there's 2 important things. There's a total count and then the orders count. And the difference between these is a total count shows how many times, unique times across all orders, someone was declined. A lot of times if somebody puts in the wrong card number, they'll enter that same wrong card number 2 or 3 times until they realize there's an error. So that may show 3 times invalid card, but the orders count will only be 1 because it's only 1 unique order that occurred that had that issue. Now, of the orders that have the issue, we also keep track of how many succeeded. So if you have a problem, it doesn't mean that you're dead in the water. Sometimes you can easily fix it. So we will keep track of how many people eventually made it through. The orders remaining are the ones that try to go through, had a problem for whatever reason, and were no longer able to proceed or gave up, or for whatever reason that was. So if your orders remaining is 0, there's really nothing to worry about. If you have a relatively low number, you can reach out to them. Again, we don't provide links to those users here, but if you go to the registration on the payment page, that was generally a pretty good indicator of who's there. All very good questions. Any last questions? One more coming in. Oh, no problem with the questions. I love questions. So the question is, if you have two funds, in this example, PTA and Ed Fund reports together, can you get them in one report, or do you have to access them in two reports? It depends on the report. So most reports, um, well, so you have access. So you may have access to, if you have restricted funds, you'll have to do them one at a time. So we have the option of doing all funds or one fund, but you couldn't do, if I had three, for example, I couldn't do two out of the three. That might be what you're running into. There are a couple reports, for example, the deposit detail report, that can only be run on a single fund, just the nature of how it works. And some are campaign based. Um, trying to see which one's campaign based. I can't remember, but you would need to have access to all of them to see that. All right. Any last questions? There's a bit of a delay from, I think, the question and when I talk. So, oh, what is a web link? Oh, very good question. What is a web link to the page that has description of all the reports? Okay, so if you are in FutureFund the admin, if you just click on Help Center here in the lower left-hand corner, it'll take you to our Help Center, which has a very unfriendly URL. But I believe if you go to support.futurefund, oh, I should try and remember this, support.futurefundtech.com, it will take you to there as well. But the easiest place to remember is just to click on the Help Center in the lower left-hand corner. And we are continually adding new help articles to our Help Center. And we will, we want to make that fairly comprehensive of everything. So some of the areas are a little bit more built out than others, but they all should be pretty complete by next week. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for putting your, oh yeah, one more question. Fire away. Can you go to orders and sort by last name? No. Right now, we don't have sorting on any of the columns yet. If you wanted to, you can hit export data. It will go into your spreadsheet program and you can do the sorting there. This is something on our roadmap where you'd be able to sort by name, date, order number, etc. But you can find an order by last name. So, or even a partial last name will work. Any part of the name, which is great, even if you don't know the full name. You met James Brad something, just type in Brad, it should show up. His email would work, a variety of information. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you for putting your trust in us to run your online registration. We hope everybody had a good, successful registration, and we're looking forward to many more things to come. So thank you again. This link should be available to replay. We'll try to get it posted on our website soon. And that will be it for today. So have a good evening. And if you have any other questions, just feel free to follow up with our support team.